Good day, everybody. Welcome to the Light Diary. I'm Delightsome Oluwateolafunmi. Before we go on today, please do like, share, and subscribe to this channel. Thank you. Last week we started talking about God's faithfulness, and God is faithful. We talked about us not being trustworthy. We are not trusting God, and the importance of trusting God, the importance of being obedient to God's instructions, and the importance of you know following God and knowing who God is, aligning our words with God's word. Today, still in the same line of thought, we're going to be talking about God's faithfulness, but now I want to talk to the singles, and I will just do a brief story of my life before, when I was single, before I got married. And yeah, God is so faithful, and then He guides us. But at times, we want to be guided by the people around, not God. For instance, before I got married, I had a fellowship that was, vibrant, so interesting. People used to come. We had every month, we had time to talk, to discuss, and so on like that. But suddenly, I met this man in church, and to be honest, which we are not always honest with ourselves. To be honest, I didn't like him, and he said he wanted to marry me. I was like, I don't like him. I even had to confide with a friend that I don't like this guy, and I don't know why. Anytime he comes to meet me, I'll just follow him. It was as if somebody has charmed me, and I'm like, I don't know why I'm following this man, and I don't like the man, and I want to leave, but I can't. I went to meet some people. Deep inside me, I had this conviction that I'm not supposed to go out. So I spoke with, my mentors. I'm like, this person wants to marry me, and I don't understand. And after praying, I'm just feeling like I should just wait a little. I should not continue with him. Because after I prayed, God told me, wait 1 more year. But my mentor said, I'm not a serious person. That what is wrong with the man? That the man is a fellowship leader and different things. I was like, even though he's a fellowship leader, but I just keep feeling something is wrong with this relationship. And I don't like him. They're like, I should read a book. They gave me the book of a popular relationship minister. The person is late now anyway. I read the book, and the person said love will come later. I'm like, love will come later. Okay, maybe there's something that I'm not looking at right and everything, but the truth is, till I left the marriage, love never came. In fact, it became worse, because the man did not like me. He just wanted me to marry me because of children. And I was like, as a single person, my words to you as a single person is, follow your heart. Don't follow the instructions of your father and your mother when it comes to choosing marriage. Yes, at times what they say might be right and be, like that, but you need to talk to God. If God says no, it is no. Like somebody was telling me, a pastor was saying that there's nothing like God's will in marriage. It's a lie. There's God's will in marriage. I can say it, because I can even say it emphatically, because I went through hell because I was not in God's will. Once God says you should do something and you're not doing it, you are in disobedience, God will deal with you, because God loves his children. And like just the way when we disobey our parents, they deal with us. That's exactly the way God relates with us, especially the children that he loves. He will make sure he brings them back. And before I got married, and I was like, I don't like this man. I don't know what is going on. I don't know why I'm there. I want to leave this relationship, and they're not allowing me to leave. I even wanted to run away at a time. A day to my wedding, I wanted to run away. And I was not thinking, who do I run to? But the day I met this man, things started crumbling for me. Because I noticed I'm a kind of person that I take note of things. I started my business in 2005. It was going and growing and growing and growing. Then suddenly I met somebody in 2007, and suddenly all the people, all the connections that I have started diminishing gradually. And then the people that even my prayer life started reducing. The people that I pray with, suddenly they were finding faults in me. They were finding a reason not to want to talk with me. And I kept wondering, I will go and meet them. At times I will be crying. I'm like, what did I do wrong? Just tell me what I've done wrong. And nobody could tell me. And then the person that I was really my very close friend that I pray with a lot, suddenly she traveled out of the country and I lost contact with her. Both my male friend and my female friends, I could not find all of them at the end of the day. And I'm like, what is going on? I was just, trying to, rehearse in my mind, what is going on? What is going on? Before you know it, marriage. And I'm like, where did I meet this man? I met him in June. In December, we are married. When I even introduced it to my daddy in July, my daddy was like, you have to marry immediately. And I'm like, no, give me some time. I want to study this person, to know this person. And the mistake I made was that when he came and he proposed to me, I introduced it to my parents immediately, thinking that we'll just use it to while away time, because my daddy has been on my case that I was 33 and I was not in a relationship. And I wasn't bothered, actually. There are some things that doesn't bother me, because I know that in his time, he will make things perfect. So I wasn't bothered. And because I wasn't bothered, it even made them to be more bothered. Because I know I've left it in the hands of God. So God will do the right thing at the right time. And when the man came and God said, wait for 1 more year, I was like telling them, I beg, I want to leave this person and wait for 1 more year. But my dad was angry. But the funny thing, my dad that was angry then, by the time we got married and he found out what was going on and everything, he's now worried about the relationship, about how he will take me out of the marriage. But because of his principles, he could not take me out. I had to leave the marriage by myself. The truth is, God is faithful. I knew that if I had waited a year more, I would have gotten a better marriage than I did. And even at that, after the marriage, after we got married, I was a virgin. And on the wedding night, the next day, he disvirgined me and told me I'm not the one he's supposed to marry, that he made a mistake. And I'm like, really? And then you made everybody to believe that you're the one and made everybody to force me to marry you? I kept it to myself because I couldn't go and tell my dad. Immediately we came back from church, just because I said, oh, you said you have lost your job. The money that they sprayed us was enough to pay the photographer and pay the musician. Let's just use it to pay them. I'm working. We'll use my money till you can gather yourself and get a job. The kind of word that came out of his mouth to me, I was like, hey. I looked at the ring in my hand and I said, my tea peju. Hope you understand that, Yoruba. It's not too late. I can just quickly remove this ring and give you back. I'm not interested. When the other brother came and just begged me, like, no, maybe he's just frustrated and things like that. But the truth is, he's not frustrated. He just said what was in his mind. We need to be guided. There is a will of God when it comes to marriage, and there is a waiting time. If God says wait, please wait. If God brings a man to you, or maybe somebody comes to you and God says, this is not the man, please, let go. God may bring people that you do not even expect, and God will say, that's the right person for you. I had a younger friend that came to meet me one time like that and brought a guy. In the look, everything, the way the man looked, I was like, he doesn't have work, he doesn't have this, he doesn't have that. And she said it was God that said she should marry him. I had to go and pray for her. And when I prayed, I had the same word in my heart that go ahead, that's the right person for you. And I left her and I just told her that, see, you have to pray and be, even though I knew God said it's the right person. I didn't tell her yes, I didn't tell her no. I just said she should go and be praying very well. But she should not leave the guy because of job. Because job is a minute thing. You can get jobs anytime. Today they are doing fine because it's the will of God. If it's not the will of God, you will always find it uneasy in the marriage. And it's not because God is not unfaithful. It's just simply because we do not obey ourselves. And then because we don't tell ourselves the hard truth. Because we don't tell ourselves the hard truth, and we don't accept the truth because it's very tough to accept the truth, we find ourselves in jeopardy. We find ourselves in a mess. And the God that we decide not to obey will still be the one to take us out of the mess. God is faithful. There is no unrighteousness in him. He is just. And because he is just, he knows how he takes care of his children and how he makes sure that his children does his will at every point in time. 1, be true to yourself. 2, obey God. 3, there is a God's will when it comes to marriage. And obeying God's will when it comes to marriage, it goes a long way to make us to have a perfect marriage. Yes, we say people, marriages are not perfect. People are not perfect. Yes. In God's side, it's perfect because he is a perfect match. The two of you will offend each other and you will forgive each other. But when it's not God's will, you will offend each other and nobody will forgive. And in my own case, when he offends me, I'll forgive. I will have even forgotten. And then he will start talking about something that we have talked about. And at times, he will not even want to deal with the issue. He will just say, later. And I'm like, later? Let's deal with it now so that we can get it out of the way and move on. And for a man to say to his so-called wife that if I can pull back the hand of the clock, I will not marry you. Though you are nice. You are very nice. You are even nice to a fault. But if I can pull back the hand of the clock, I will not marry you. And you're asking, why? If I'm nice, so why don't you want to marry me? It's just because the two of you are not meant for each other. So before you get married to anybody, please pray. Study the person you want to marry. Be sure that you can work with the person. Be sure that it is God's will. Because if you can work with the person and it's not God's will, you're still going to have a lot of issues in that marriage. Because marriage, it's a place of fun. It's meant to be enjoyed, not endured. You're not supposed to be enduring in marriage. You're supposed to be enjoying marriage. Marry your best friend. Don't marry somebody that just comes out of the blues and says they want to marry you. If they want to marry you, they should just create a relationship, a friendship relationship for at least a year. Know the person very well. Be the person's friend. Then you can now say, oh, I want to go and marry. But if the person is not your friend, how can you be married? Because in marriage, there are days that, there are down times in marriage. It's when the person is your friend that will keep you. Your friends, it's not all the time you feel like talking to them. But because they are your friend, you will still talk to them anyway. Your friend, at times you don't want to see them. But because you know they are your friends, you will see them anyway. It's only your friend that can offend you and you can confront and say, you did something wrong to me and I don't like it. And the two of you can resolve it, and then you move on. It's only a friend that you can do that with. But somebody that is not your friend, is impossible for you to go and meet the person and say, you did something wrong and I don't like. And the person will accept. The person will even tell you what you did is even worse than what the person did, and we're looking for faults in what you have done. So, till we meet again, I'll leave you with this word. Tell yourself the hard truth and be ready to accept the truth. Listen to God. Ask God questions. And parents, teach your children to know God. Teach your children to know God for themselves, so that when it comes to choosing, they will be able to choose by themselves. You won't even need to interfere. Like a friend told me one time like that the daughter brought a guy home, and then she liked the guy and everything. Then suddenly the daughter just said she's not interested in the guy again, that the Holy Spirit is telling her she just feels something is wrong, and the Holy Spirit tells her she should just stop the marriage, the relationship, and she did. Some weeks later, maybe a month or something like that, they found out that the guy was into something that the mother was like, thank God I don't even have this kind of a child as my in-law. If the mother has not taught the child to listen to God, to go to God in the place of prayer by herself, and because the mother knows that I have taught this child to know God for herself, she was able to trust what she's saying, and she listened to her, and she didn't force her. So that is how it is. You need to know God for yourself as a single. You need to have a relationship with God first, and tell yourself the hard truth. Not everybody will be able to tell you the truth. You should be able to tell yourself the truth. Because there are several people that God sent to me to stop the relationship, and they never said anything. And me, I was expecting somebody to, to affirm what I have in my heart. Because other people around me were saying, go ahead, go ahead. But deep inside me, I knew I wasn't supposed to go ahead. So I was looking for someone that can just say, no, this is what God told me to tell you. It was after the wedding that somebody now came to tell me that, oh, I'm sorry, this is what God told me. And I was like, okay. So God told you this some years back, and you're just telling me now. That's not fair. Because that time I was looking for a confirmation to what was in my heart. If I could get only one person to confirm what was in my heart, then I would have left the relationship. But because everyone around were like, go ahead, my mentors were like, go ahead, stop being afraid. It's just fear that is making you to think that God is saying, you should wait. And my parents are like, no, you must just go. You are too old, you have to go. And I wasn't old, because I didn't see myself old, because then I was 33. I was not old. I didn't see myself old then. And another thing I will leave you with is, be obedient to God. Know God, be truthful to yourself, be obedient to God's instruction. That is the only thing that can take you far. Because when you're having issues in the marriage, you say, but God, you said this. When I had issues in the marriage, I would say, God, this is what you told me. All the thing I knew that God told me before I entered the marriage was, wait for a year and don't go ahead with this marriage. So going to God, I'm like, what will I tell him he said to me? And people didn't understand. Because if a marriage can take you out of God's relationship with God, then that is not a good relationship. Any relationship that will not allow you to have a direct flow with your Father in heaven, that will not allow you to have friends, is not a good one. Please run away from me. So till I meet you next time, I remain Delightsome Oluwateolafunmi. Stay truthful to yourself. Thank you.